For hardworking Americans that want to safeguard their family's future, you've come to the right place. Welcome to the Protect Your Family and Money Show, a podcast that features top insights and delivers bite-sized moments of pure gold, so you can benefit from years of legal know-how in just minutes. Each week, we bring you the things that make the big difference, so you know how to keep your family and money safe no matter what tomorrow brings. Now, here's your host, Grant Eagle.
Hey everybody, and I'm here again with our special guest, Fred Haiman, a leading estate planning attorney out of Dallas-Fort Worth. And today we're talking about what you can do to reduce the time and the cost of probate. Good to have you on, Fred.
Good to be here, Grant. Thanks for having me.
Now, before we get into this, if you've got any questions regards estate planning, if you just go to Protect My Money in DFW.com, that's Protect My Money in DFW.com, you'll get a free case assessment and some immediate next steps that I think will give you a whole lot of peace of mind. So, Fred, just to kick off, you were mentioning to me that there's a whole slew of mistakes people make when they're thrown into probate, which a lot of people don't expect anyway. And before we go any further, I just want to make it clear to our listeners that if you've got a will right now, you're not going to avoid probate, are you?
No, you're not.
Okay.
A lot of people, Grant, don't even understand what that term probate means.
Yeah, I was going to ask you that. But you just came in and said it anyway. So come on, tell our listeners what probate is and why we have it.
Well, probate is the legal process of administering a person's estate after they pass away. So a lot of people associate the term probate with a will. So if the person that died has a will, you probate that will, and that means you have to take it before the court and prove that it's a valid will, and the court accepts it, and then you can carry out what the will says. But probate is also a process that when a person passes away without a will, the court, it goes through the probate court, and it's an heirship proceeding where we have to not only administer the estate, but we got to determine who all the heirs are.
It just sounds complicated to me. I'm sure our listeners, if they are in probate right now, wish they weren't. So to help them, let's just talk about some of the things you see people making mistakes over. And you were talking before the show, like one of those big ones is not working with an attorney that focuses on, estate planning, elder law, that kind of thing, right?
Yes. The law has become so complex and so specialized that attorneys focus in a certain area. So you'll have your bankruptcy attorneys, you'll have your criminal defense attorneys, you'll have your family law attorneys. And if you don't hire somebody that focuses on probate, you're going to have problems, and it's going to be very complicated.
Yeah. So let's just say we've got a really good attorney and they're walking us through the process. What other mistakes do you see people making? Let's just talk about family agreeing, for example, over the wishes of their deceased loved one.
One of the biggest problems I see is family disputes that come up during this process. And
why is that a problem in probate, though?
It drags it out longer, and I used to tell my clients that the more you fight, the more money I make, because it jacks up the legal fees.
Right, we can't have that, Fred. We can't have you making any more money than you're making now.
Well, and I tell my clients, you don't need to help me. We got plenty of clients. So you fighting just makes it worse on everybody.
Yeah. And I suppose it's natural for there to be disagreements. So would it be fair to say you want to find a lawyer that wants to, or is showing willing to help resolve those disagreements rather than let it play out, because obviously they're the one to gain from it, right?
Yes, most definitely. There are certain lawyers out there that know that the more they keep the pot stirred, the more money they make. And that's not the lawyer you want. In a probate process, you want a lawyer that not only knows the system and knows how to go through the system, but also has the mentality that we need to get this resolved as quickly as possible. We need to settle disputes as quickly as possible. We need to mediate if necessary to get them done. And that will, I mean, it reduces the anxiety of the process so much by having the right person take care of you.
All right. So loud and clear, it's not just finding someone that focuses on estate planning, probate, and that stuff, guys. It's also someone that you feel is really there for you and the family. Okay.
It's more than legal knowledge. It's that personality. It's a person that has the right ethics and personality to carry you through this process.
And a bit of TLC, I think.
A lot, yes.
Yeah, absolutely. So now just talk to us about the debts that somebody may owe. So, for example, if my father passes and he's got $74,000 in, I don't know, could be credit card debts, unsecured loans, that kind of thing. What is the responsibility, or what are the mistakes you see people making paying those debts?
The first mistake I see is people paying debts they don't have to pay. Family is not responsible for the person's debts. So even a spouse might not be responsible for her husband or his wife's debts. So the first mistake I see is people paying debts too soon and paying debts they wouldn't automatically be responsible to pay. Okay.
What should somebody that's, let's say, the executor or the family be doing in terms of the creditors? What don't they do and what should they do?
Okay, I would tell you, first you got to consult with an attorney before you pay anything. So I tell you, don't just jump the gun and start paying bills until you talk to a professional. I used to always tell my clients that you don't want to pay anything unless it's going to be taken away or turned off. So those are your top priorities. Anything that can be taken away, like a house or a car, or anything that can be turned off, like utility bills, if they're needed. Other than that, we don't pay a single thing until it goes through the probate process, because the probate process has a very detailed step-by-step process that we have to go through and creditors have to go through in order to get paid.
Okay. All right. So just talking about that, what should we be doing when it comes to creditors? Can we just do nothing and just get on with our lives? And if you've seen people do that, and that comes back to bite them, right? So if you don't do anything, what can happen?
Okay, so on the other side of that coin of just paying creditors too soon is ignoring creditors. So you can't do either one. So you have to, part of the probate process requires a notice to the creditors. So we give certain what I call specific notice to ones we know about, like mortgage companies and maybe auto loan companies. But we don't make, if I'm coming in and I'm taking care of my dad's estate, I may not know all of his debts. So the court requires a publication notice. So we publish something in the newspaper. And by doing that, it puts the creditors on notice that they have a certain amount of time to file a claim in the probate case, or they don't get paid.
So you don't have to send a letter to every single one of them?
No. So that's, again, falling back on the professionalism of the attorney. The attorney will know who needs to require letters and who can be noticed by public.
Okay. All right. And in terms of, you were mentioning it to me, a lot of people, just because they're an executor, to them, obviously they're still a son or a daughter or a spouse, but you said they have other responsibilities that they're really not cut out for. Talk to our listeners about that.
Well, one of the things I see is people taking their job as executor too lightly. So let's just say my father passes away and he appoints me as his executor. I'm his son. I want to take care of dad's estate. And so I want to do the right thing as a son. But the reality is, by taking on that title of executor, I now become what's called a fiduciary. And I have a duty to the estate, and I have a duty to the beneficiaries of the estate. And I can be held criminally and civilly liable if I don't do the right thing. So people have to take their job seriously. I don't want to scare anybody and say, oh, I wouldn't dare want to take that. But you can't take it too lightly.
Yeah. Well, you said to me, this is another mistake people make. They think it's more simple than it is.
Yes.
Right. A good example of that is gathering assets.
Yes, I hear that all the time. I hear people saying, well, all I need is a will because the Texas probate process is simple. No, it's not. And it may be easier than other states because every state has its own rules. It may be easier than other states, but it's not easy. And gathering assets is one of those complicated areas that you have to make sure you get everything. Did dad have financial accounts, places that maybe you didn't know about, or family, so you have to do the research and go that extra mile to make sure you've accounted for everything the person had.
Yeah. And really, just to wrap up, if you were going to give somebody, I don't know, one parting piece of advice when it comes to reducing the time and cost of probate, what would it be?
I think in a nutshell, hire the right person.
Okay. All right.
And take the process serious.
All right. Brilliant. Look, Fred, thanks for coming on. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Grant. Appreciate you having me.
All right. And for everybody listening now, I just want to remind you, if you've got a question about today's episode or there's another pressing matter, if you go to protectmymoneyindfw.com, that's protectmymoneyindfw.com, you'll get a free assessment and hopefully some peace of mind. Fred, thanks again, and we'll speak soon.
Thanks, Grant. Talk to you soon.
Cheers.
Thanks for joining us on this episode of the Protect Your Family and Money Show. If you'd like to contact our featured guest, just go to www.protectmymoneyindfw.com and you'll be able to get a free assessment, some immediate next steps, and above all, peace of mind. Oh, and if you know someone that needs help, then just tell them to get in touch. The Protect Your Family and Money Show, helping hardworking Americans keep their family and money safe. The views expressed by the participants are their own and are not endorsed by the show. Nothing said in this podcast is legal advice for you.